First of all, depression ni ugonjwa, lakini si tikiti ya kifo. You need not die because of depression. Kuna usaidizi makanisani, kuna usaidizi hospitalini, kuna wenzako ambao waweza kuzungumza nao ambao waligonjeka wakapona.
The World Health Organization defines health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. It is not just the absence of a disease. A report by the WHO ranked Kenya the 5th among African countries with the highest number of cases of depression. A staggering 1 out of every 4 persons who seek healthcare in Kenya have a mental health condition. Now, depression is defined as a persistent sadness, a lack of interest or pleasure in previously rewarding activities. Some of the signs and symptoms include being persistently sad, being anxious, feeling hopeless, irritability, feelings of guilt, worthlessness, or hopelessness, a loss of interest or pleasure in hobbies and activities. Some patients have thoughts of death or suicidal ideation. Others will present with aches or pains, headaches, cramps, and digestive problems without a clear physical cause, and these kind of symptoms don't even respond with treatment. Now, some of the risk factors for depression include having a personal or family history of depression. Sometimes major life changes, trauma, or stress can cause depression. Certain physical illnesses or medications might also be a predisposing factor. Good evening, and thank you so much for tuning in this Sunday on ULIZA Daktari. I am your host, Dr. Lauren Mengesa, Daktari wa kina mama. Leo tunazungumzia depression, and before we get into this discussion, we have a story from Walter.
Generally, they say writers are lonely people and sad people because of the idealism we hold towards the society. But there is what we call a difference between sadness and depression. You can be sad and you don't need treatment, but depression will need treatment. But in my case, it was the environment in which I was in. The depression came later on. I thought I was in a good marriage, but as time advanced, within 1 year it had to collapse. You have expectations in a relationship. It's a two-way thing. But when you suddenly see somebody not caring about the relationship, what you look surprised. I had a son then. We had a son in that relationship. And she neglected me and the son completely. Going to discos, and he leaves us with a child there. My marriage collapsed because of a bad relationship. I took her to a doctor. She left. That one cleared depression from the home, from the house. But the toxic place, working place, I was working for a parastatal. No promotions, no what, and the price of things are going up. So you wonder, why am I not promoted? This one brought depression. I was working for somebody, I'm an accountant, but I was working under somebody who didn't have any qualifications for accounting. She was there because of politics, patronage. So how do you do it? How do you deal with that? And the funny thing is, before you get another job, this so-called boss of yours is the one who's supposed to give you a recommendation. That's the system then. You have to get a recommendation from your boss. Not in that company you want to go to, but right here where you are. I never moved for 8 years. When you're depressed, you don't take care of yourself, you're dirty, you're what, you're irritable. But there's a silent depression that is very deep, if you hurt very deeply. That one, God is the one who can remove. You know, you think you're okay, but when you're quiet and they pray and the pastor makes a call, who's this, suffering from this and this, is when you realize that is me. When you're graying, I call it graying. In other words, you don't enjoy food, you are irritable. Things are, it's a toxic environment that we should go away. That one made me know there's something wrong. Of course, I read a psychology digest by Dr. Daniel Kabithe. Walikuwa naiandika every Saturday. Alafu baadaye ndio nikaona vile naendelea ni vile Daniel Kabithe na akasema nikaenda hospitali.
Nani kama mama, na nini kama pendo la mama. Happy Mother's Day to my mama and to all the mothers out there. We're celebrating you, we're grateful for you, and we love you. Now, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and to help us unmask this very, very interesting topic is our consultant psychiatrist, Dr. Muthoni Karanja. She is a consultant psychiatrist and she is based at the Tranquil Medical Center. Now, of importance is one of her key roles, and one of the things she really tries to achieve is to help remove the stigma around mental health. Karibu sana, Dr. Muthoni.
Thank you.
And happy Mother's Day to you as well.
Happy Mother's Day to you too.
Asante. Now, as we think about depression, as we think about stress and all the things that can make someone feel low, one of the things that can stress is finances. And so one of the things that can help us reduce this stress is to be ready by preparing and having a plan. Now, CIC is here to walk that journey with you. Their Medisure plan is to cover the whole family in cases of emergencies, medical inpatient and outpatient, and that makes sure that should you need admission, should you need an outpatient consultation, you're secure. Now, for our seniors, there is a seniors plan, and this makes sure that our mothers that we are celebrating today and fathers are covered should there be any incidents at the hospital. If you belong to a chama or a women's group, then there is a plan for you by CIC, so you're covered all around. Now, karibu sana daktari to our show today. We're excited to have you on board. Now, we were listening to Walter, and one of the first things he was talking about is sadness and then depression. So, tofauti ni nini between just being sad and actually being depressed? How do you make that distinction?
That's a very good question, because people always say, I feel so depressed today, you know. But the distinction is, yes, depression has sadness, but the distinction is the time during which you're sad. So the sadness has to have lasted for at least 2 weeks. Sadness that is there most of the day, possibly every day. So now that is depression, because sadness is an emotion that is supposed to just punctuate your life. It comes and goes, like happiness, sadness, anxiety, irritability. But if it is the main character of the show, then something is wrong. And if it has lasted 2 weeks or more, yeah.
Now, leo tunazungumzia msongo wa mawazo, yani depression, and we'd like to hear from you. Send in your questions to us on 22422, our SMS line. Talk to us on our socials at ULIZA Daktari and at Daktari Mengesa. Now, when we look at depression, we're thinking about the signs. How would you yourself know that you're probably starting to show it's not just a normal sad day, or how would you notice this in someone close to you?
That's a good question. The distinguishing feature of depression is beyond sadness, there is a loss of pleasure. To mean that you are unable to enjoy things the way you would. Like if you like ugali and meat, it doesn't give you as much joy as it used to give you. You find yourself losing interest in the things that used to interest you, like your work begins to suffer. You lose interest in your relationships and the things that make you happy. Then you can also have fatigue. You're tired all the time. You'll hear people say, I'm unable to get out of bed. Why can't I just get it together? You start being late to work. You're so negative. You criticize yourself a lot, feeling worthless, feeling hopeless. So beyond the sadness, there's a general negativity, there's that loss of pleasure, there's that loss of interest, and life feels meaningless. It's like, what's the point? So now when you get there and then it's for a prolonged period of time, then you could be going into a depressive episode, or you are already in one. Yeah.
So tuseme ni kama unasikia ni kama umebeba dunia yote nzima kwa mgongo wako. You're carrying the whole world. Shida zote ni zako. Some people say it's like you're in a deep dark hole. Unajaribu kutoka kule ndani but you just can't come out of it.
Exactly.
Now, kuna tofauti yote between wanaume na wanawake? Vile ambao wanaonyesha dalili za depression.
Kuna tofauti. Men show depression a little different from women. And for men, it's important to have this conversation because men are socialized not to say they are struggling with their mental health. So what they are likely to do is get into unhealthy coping mechanisms. So when a man is going into depression, he might start drinking alcohol more than he was drinking before, or using other substances. Also for men, they get angry. So whereas you might think it's more of a sadness and hopelessness, for men it might be more irritability, aggression, controlling behavior, being withdrawn, you know. So, and in women, you can still have the same symptoms, but now you tend to have more of the sadness, the emptiness, the hopelessness. And I think it's very important to note that men have a higher risk of dying by suicide than women because they tend to be more decisive, they tend to use more lethal means, and because they don't talk about it, you will suddenly
don't see it coming.
Someone has died by suicide, but it's because of the way men process depression and stress.
So party after party, sherehe saa zingine inakuwa inamaanisha there might be something else going on.
Red flag.
Now tumesikia Walter akizungumzia mambo kadhaa. He's talked about his marriage. Ameongea juu ya kazi, alikuwa anaona hasongi, hapatiwi promotion. What are some of the things ambazo zinafanya watu wanaanza kuwa na shida ya depression? What are some of the stressors or tuseme pengine risk factors ambazo zinafanya watu wanaingia katika shida hii?
So his story highlighted the risk factors ambazo huwa the big ones. Financial stress, that's a big one, and especially for men because hao ndio huwa wanabeba familia, they are the providers and everything. But also difficulty in relationships, and now that brings an interesting perspective because you can ask, what came first?
Yes.
Is it the depression that caused the relationship to be bad? Or is it the relationship being bad that caused the depression, or both? So difficulty in relationship is very central to depression. And that's why it's important to treat it because if you have a depressed spouse, before you call it quits on the marriage, it's important to get the depression treated. Because it could be the depression is making you negative, my person is bad, they never do anything good. So relational difficulties can lead to that. Also chronic stress. If you have continuous stress, you need to find a way to deal with it because it raises the stress hormones in your body, which then alters the way your brain is functioning, and then you go into a depressive episode. And then there are other ones which you have no control over. For example, you can be diagnosed with a terminal illness. That is a very stressful and it's a very existential, it's an existential crisis. So when you're going through hard things like grief, you've lost a loved one, or you've been diagnosed with a mental illness, or you've been incarcerated, or you've gone bankrupt. So those are situations in which you need to look out for support because they can easily lead to a depressive illness.
So wakati tunaangalia, tumesema wanaume hawaongei zaidi. And women, we tend to kuna chama, utaenda mzungumze, mkunywe chai, mseme all these people are bad. But wanaume hawana nafasi ya kuzungumza, na pia tunaona dalili zao zinatokeza kwa tofauti kidogo. You've said they're a bit more aggressive and more likely to engage in harmful behavior. Now kuna workplace ambayo pia inaficha sana alizungumzia. How do you differentiate mtu ambaye tuseme hataki to exert themselves at work and somebody who is genuinely being stressed by work? How do you draw the line between work is now becoming a problem and it is the person who just needs to do better? And before we get into that, we have a question coming in on call. Okay, so tuna swali kutoka Okoth. Anasema, I'm Okoth, I have been battling depression for the last 10 years. I have been on, I think she means antidepressants from 2010. Anauliza, is there a cure? It has reached a point that I cannot sleep without taking drugs. I was even diagnosed with schizophrenia. I have tried to manage but cannot do without the drugs. So what do you think, Daktari?
Well, that question has multiple questions in it.
Inside.
And the question that I'm hearing is depression curable?
Yes.
There are many things we don't know, unfortunately, about the mind and how it works. Even the exact causes of depression, there are many theories, all of which have helped us to get to where we are. What I will say is that depression is manageable. When it's treated, you can have a normal life. Now, depression can come and go. And we know that once you've had a depressive episode, you are at risk for developing another one. Because your brain is kind of primed for that. So what we say is, I always tell my patients, don't be so keen on saying, I want to be medication-free. Function over everything. So we want you functioning, working, taking care of your family. And if you have to take a tablet to do that, it's fine. You're a gynecologist. There are other fields of medicine. It is never seen as a sign of strength to say, oh, now I've stopped taking my insulin, I'm all better.
Yes.
So we are pushing to get to where we normalize having a mental illness.
Yes.
And if you need long-term care for it,
then it's okay.
Think about it in the sense that I am better off taking this one tablet before bed and functioning than trying to be off medication and then everything else falls apart. So for the listener who has sent in that question, I would just encourage them. Keep on keeping on. It's an ongoing conversation with your doctor. Maybe one day you will get there, maybe not. And in both cases, it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So depression is treatable, and the medication should not be causing stigma. Kumeza dawa haimaanishi, there's anything wrong with you. Now we are going on a short break. Please keep sending in your questions on 22422. Our call line is down below, and please engage us on our socials at ULIZA Daktari and at Daktari_Mengesa. We'll be back after a short break.
When pain strikes, don't let it kill the good vibe.
I've got cramps. Try this Maramoja Advance. It works so fast. You'll be back to screaming in no time.
Maramoja Advance. Back to the good vibes.
Get back to the good vibes.
People come to me and they say they get discomfort when they have ice cream. Can you imagine that? Avoiding having cold ice cream. Sensodyne gives you long-lasting protections against sensitivity. And people come in and they're like, oh, it works. I can have ice cream and I'm not in any discomfort. I recommend Sensodyne because it works. It's brilliant.
Namna unaona hayo maji yakitiririka kwa raha ni kutokana na nguvu ya sola. Unahitaji tu miale ya jua upate nguvu hii ya kuleta maji shambani kwako na hata nyumbani. Tutazungumza na mtu ambaye tayari ana sola kule shambani kwake, anafanya namna gani, aliweka namna gani na maji anayapata namna gani. Twende pamoja upate kusoma na sisi.
Kenya's Gold, Monday to Friday from 6 to 7 p.m.
Get business credit card from Cooperative Bank and pay for business stock and supplies on credit instead of using your own money. You can make payments in Kenya, abroad and online.
Great yummy taste, gotta hack it. I spread bread, pate nguvu, gotta pack it. Napaka nyweki design ya mokoro. Blue Panda, Julie natural cocoa. 5 vitamins, una grow plus ni tam nani. One by one, tuna flow with the energy. Dance to the beat, feel the adrenaline. Vibes ni polite. Step into the motion. Tuna hack snack na ki blue band choco for your growth.
ngozi yako ina glow. Nilijipaka mafuta leo asubuhi nikikam, lakini skin yangu ishaparara and it looks so dull. Sis, see, it's the new Nice and Lovely Lemon Extract Body Lotion. Hiyo ndo secret yangu to a moisturized and bright skin. Usimix.
New Nice and Lovely Lemon Lotion, enriched with vitamin C and sunflower seed oil for 48-hour nourishing glow and brighter skin. Try Nice and Lovely Lemon Lotion today.
From the creators of ULIZA's Platinum, we introduce you to the biggest family salon in Kenya. Introducing Lily, Mary and Jenny Salon, Spa and Barber. We pride ourselves in offering the most professional and affordable grooming services to the whole family using globally renowned products. Our ladies' salon is meticulously designed to provide a rejuvenating experience. Visit us today at Kigwa Springs, Kigwa Road, Ridgeways.
Craving an unforgettable African adventure? With View Travel, discover the magic of Africa. Explore Cape Town's beaches, trek Uganda's lush rainforests, marvel at Rwanda's beauty, explore Tanzania's wildlife, unwind in Zanzibar's paradise, cruise Egypt's timeless Nile, or dive into Morocco's vibrant culture. Perfect for leisure, business, school trips, or romance. We craft journeys as unique as you. Tembea Africa na View Travel. Visit viewtravel.com or call and WhatsApp 0703-254-254. View Travel. Dream, explore, discover.
Unaweza kuwa na mambo zako, labda umeolewa ama hujaolewa. Kama umeolewa, unapata kuna mambo inakusumbua kwa familia ama kwa hiyo doa. Alafu unanyamaza, hata you don't share that na watu wengine.
Hali ya kutarajia kitu na hiyo kitu yenye unatarajia uweze pata. So hiyo ndio hali ya depression inakuja. Saa ingine uko na watoto wanaanza kukusumbua mambo hivi. Inaleta depression kama msasi.
Depression mtu anaweza pata akitumia madawa ya kulevya ama pombe kwa wingi. Maana inakaa kama umelala, alafu ukiamka ni kama hutaki kufanya kazi.
The causes might be maybe sickness or alcohol or drug abuse. Yeah.
Karibu tena ULIZA Daktari. We have a call from Machanja, Nairobi. Hello.
Hello.
Hello Machanja, karibu ULIZA Daktari.
Okay, Daktari, I have just one quick question.
Yes, please.
Nimekuwa na shida of feeling a pain nearly in the area of the heart several times. Na nikienda hospitali wanaangalia hawaoni chochote. My question is, can stress cause an actual physical pain on an organ in the body? Because that is what they seem to be coming down to, that I'm stressed, I'm depressed, but I feel pain. So can stress, depression cause physical pain in an organ?
Thank you very much. That's an excellent question, Daktari. Can stress cause uchungu kwa mwili juu ya stress?
Absolutely, yes. And this points to the fact that depression is not just an illness in the mind, it has manifestations all over the body. So one of the ways in which you can wind up having chest pain is if you also have anxiety, yani wasiwasi, ambayo inakuja pamoja na depression. So wasiwasi, anxiety can be felt as chest pain, and that's why it's important to see a doctor. Like at Tranquil Medical Center, we won't just see you about the depression, we also do a range of other investigations which helps us to know, is there something physically wrong with your heart, or do you have depression and anxiety that are manifesting as chest pain? You can also feel pain in the shoulders, muscle aches and pains that won't go away. So we know that depression can result in physical manifestations pain. Like pain, numbness, feeling like your heart is beating too fast, among other things.
So we have another caller, Korir from Eldoret. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, from Kapsabet, Korir.
Yes.
Karibu Uliza Daktari. Swali lako.
Ningependa kuuliza depression inaweza fanya mtu kupata conditions kama let's say high blood pressure ama ugonjwa la kisukari.
Asante sana Korir. So hii swali huwa tunapata sana. Stress inaweza pandisha sukari na stress inaweza pandisha pressure.
Today we have very good questions. Both. You know, it's very interconnected. So we know that of the people who are living with diabetes, we know about 40% of them will experience depression. And so when you're treating someone for diabetes, you also have to look for depression. But at the same time, because depression makes you neglect yourself, you're not eating well or you're eating the wrong things, it can make you gain excessive weight and then now lead to the problems with your blood sugar and your blood pressure, which is why you need a place and a doctor who is able to manage both. Yes, so you cannot isolate the two. Having the hypertension and diabetes can lead to the depression, and depression can lead to both. But sadly, when they both exist together, they make each other worse. Because when you're depressed, you're not going to take your insulin. And when you have diabetes and you're struggling, you're like, why should I take one more medication for depression? But there is hope and it is treatable.
Okay, Ernest from Nairobi. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Ernest. Karibu Uliza Daktari.
Okay, I'm just asking, just by virtue of looking,
Yes.
how can you identify that a brother is undergoing this depression? Yeah.
Yes, we are our brother's keepers, and Ernest wants to know, utasaidiaje rafiki yako, utajuaje kama mwenzangu anaweza kuwa anapata shida?
The moment you notice that someone is changing, their personality changes, they don't want to be around people, maybe their self-care is poor, they are not taking care of their body as they used to, this person is refusing to eat, or they've become excessively negative, they are crying a lot. So if you notice a drastic change in somebody's personality, then it's a sign that they could be going into depression. And it's always good when you see such things, then now you point it out to them and approach them. And if it's possible, you can even help them to go and see a professional and they can be taken care of. Yeah.
Jamani, tuangalie wenzetu kwa sababu wewe ndio unaweza kuwa mmoja wa kumsaidia. Now SMSs, we have Lakita. Lakita anasema she's battling depression since 2015 and she can't seem to find a way out of it. Anasema anashindwa kulala. Is there a cure? And the link this to another question. Anasema, hello doctor, I need your advice. Juu sitaki nifike huko. Nimekuwa na stress. Na saizi ana miaka 2 akingangana na stress na anaogopa atafika level ya depression. So mmoja anauliza, what can I do nisifike pale? Na mwingine anauliza ako pale na anashindwa afanye nini?
Okay. So tuanze na yule ambaye hajafika pale bado. It's good when people are able to identify that this is possible, it's likely to lead to depression. And so the question is, what coping mechanisms are there? And at a level, nyumbani too, talking to your sisters, your brothers, the people around you helps, because a problem half shared is a problem half solved. And reaching out to other levels of support. You have your imam, you have your pastor, there are those levels in the community and sharing among your peers. But if you find that that is not enough or they are not giving you advice that is helpful, then you see a doctor. But for the other person who's written in, it leaves me with more questions because I don't know whether they have been able to see a doctor yet. In case they have, it means that the treatment they are being given is not working. And there's more than one treatment for depression. So all you need to do is have that discussion, be honest with your doctor and tell them, I've been taking the medicine, I don't feel better. What more can we do? So there's much more that can be done and different levels of care, which we can keep escalating to. Yeah.
Kuna mwingine anauliza, is it good to stay in the same house with someone with uncontrollable depression? So mwenzako mnaishi naye lakini unaona huyu hii shida imefika mahali ambapo it's not being contained. Is it safe?
Now, again, that question, what is uncontrollable depression? Depression can be managed. So if this person is not getting better, I think it comes down to, is this person a danger to themselves and to others? And now that's where also we wind up admitting people. So if you have a person who is going through depression and they're being aggressive or they're not taking care of themselves, or let me give you an example, it's Mother's Day.
Yes.
So if a mother has postpartum depression, ile depression inakuja kutokana na uzazi.
Baada kujifungua.
Wakati mwingine, a mother can be so depressed and they can have thoughts about harming the baby.
The baby, yes.
Now that is where we come in as professionals, because we don't only provide outpatient services, we also provide inpatient services to keep you safe and the ones around you safe. So if you're concerned about your safety, bring the person to the hospital. And even if they don't want to come, there are always indications where you can, once you have certified that this person is a danger to themselves and others, they can be admitted even if they don't want to be admitted, and we handle that with dignity and get them to where they are safe and able to get back into the society. Yeah.
Thank you. We are so excited. Your questions are quite interesting today. We are going to take a short break and then we'll be back on ULIZA Daktari. Thank you so much for staying tuned on ULIZA Daktari. Our proud sponsors of this show is CIC Insurance, who have their CIC Medisure, CIC for seniors, as well as CIC for all your groups and chamas. Now, our questions are coming in, and first we have a question or a comment from Pastor Musa Mago Mer Kaptien from Moisbridge, and he says he is depressed and depression is killing him. And there's a question that is asking, are there types of depression? Yani kuna aina za hizi depression ama depression ni kitu moja? Because anataka kujua what type of depression do they have. Now, a few other questions we have before we come back to Daktari. My husband cheated on me with my house help and when I was pregnant. Nikavumilia a full year, then moved out. But lately, I have realized it affected me. My head is full. I'm always dizzy, fatigued. Please help. Now, another question. It is a month now since I gave birth, and my husband just started frustrating me. Hataki kunielewa, yani it's just bad. I'm low. I was just thinking of killing myself and the kids. I don't know what to do. How does a pregnant mom escape depression? Because it's really killing me. Now, today is Mother's Day, and of course, mimi kama daktari wa kina mama, this is an area of interest for me. And then, doctor, does depression cause erectile dysfunction? Now, we have special groups when it comes to mental health. Kuna Gen Z hapa, ambao they are our youth, the future of our nation. Their depression is a different category. Then we are talking about pregnant women, postpartum depression. Could you tell us something about these two groups of people?
Okay, so first, depression can happen to anyone. And the first person who asked the question, the pastor, it goes to show that nobody is exempt. It doesn't matter. Even doctors, even psychiatrists can get depressed.
Yeah.
But there are different types of depression. And there's the one that affects, there's depression as an umbrella, but there are special types of depression such as postpartum. Yani ile depression inapata akina mama baada ya kuzaa. Na kwa sababu kujifungua, kwa sababu baada ya kujifungua, a lot of hormones zinabadilika kwa mwili na inakufanya unasikia sad. So unapata kupata mtoto inafaa kuwa wakati wa furaha na most mothers wanajiuliza mbona mimi sifurahi mtoto wangu, na kila mtu anasema kujifungua ni kitu mzuri. Lakini hiyo immediately after kupata mtoto, if 2 weeks have passed and you're still feeling sad, unajipata unalia sana, uko overwhelmed, yani unashindwa kucope na majukumu ya motherhood. Ni wakati wa kwenda kuambia daktari wako wa kina mama kuna shida. And it's also important to state that it's not only mothers, pia fathers kwa mwaka wa kwanza of the child's life can also get depressed. In fact, even up to the time a child is 5 years old. Kwa sababu huyo mtoto ako na responsibilities mingi za kifedha, hulali, analia kila wakati, saa ingine ni mgonjwa, saa ingine ako na colic. So unapata it's a time when a mother can go into depression. And not just after delivery, but pia kwa wakati wa the pregnancy, you can have depression. So it can be prenatal, that means during the pregnancy, inaweza kuwa baada ya kudeliver. And what the one of the questions about, I feel like hataki kuwa hai na anataka kutoa watoto uhai pia, that is a major red flag that anafaa kutafuta usaidizi, because now that is when we wind up with suicide, na pia mama anaona watoto hawana njia ingine, kwa hivyo anawatoa uhai. Kwa hivyo there are special groups. Pia another special group ni teenagers. How pia wanapitia depression. Unajua, most of the time we say, it's just adolescence. But it is not just adolescence. When you find your teenager is changing, they are not themselves, amenyamaza sana, zaidi ya ile ya adolescence. And it's important to note that lately, tunaona an increase in the number of preteen and teen suicides. So ni vizuri walimu na wazazi wakuwe waangalifu. Na the signs that a teenager anaweza kuwa akienda into depression is self-harm. Kwa hivyo ukiona kama mtoto wako ako na alama ni kama amekuwa akijikata, ama hataki kukula, ama unaona analia sana, ako very moody. Another sign is if school performance ikidrop all of a sudden na huelewi ni nini inaendelea na huyu mtoto. There are child psychiatrists ambao wako specialized na kuangalia depression kwa teenagers, and not just teenagers, even children can be depressed. Yes.
Now, swali zingine ambazo tumeona wanauliza matibabu ni gani? Watu unawasikia watu wanasema wana dawa, lakini wanajiuliza jamani, nitachukua hizi dawa hadi lini? Because most people they want to take medicine and stop at some point. So treatment options ni kama nini? Na ni wapi ambapo watu wanafaa kwenda kutafuta usaidizi? I've seen, free hotlines, clinics. So what are the treatment options and where do you go?
So depression is treatable, and that's a good thing.
Yes.
So na matibabu sio tembe peke yake. Matibabu inaanzia kwanza na kuongea. So there is psychotherapy. Na at Tranquil Medical Center we offer that, which is where unakuwa allocated your own therapist. Na atakuongelesha na mtenda kwa undani kabisa kuangalia what really caused this. And we dig deep. Tunaanzia from your childhood. How did you grow up? What kind of a family did you have? And so on and so forth. Alafu pia tunakuja kwa daktari. Pia kuna medication which you can be given, which helps. Because the medication in a balance zile chemicals that are in the brain, which helps your mood to improve and it helps you to become more functional. So you can either be treated as an outpatient or you can be treated as an inpatient. Na kuna many other forms of therapy. But kama kuna mtu anasikiza na ako in a crisis, there is also a toll-free number we have at Tranquil Medical Center, yenye unaweza kupiga na utapata usaidizi. So in case uko na mawazo kama huyo mtu ameandika that sitaki kukua uhai tena, nataka kujitoa uhai, then you can reach out and you can be able to get the help you need.
Okay, we have a call coming in from Phoebe. Hello. Hello, Phoebe. Okay, as we wait for Phoebe, we will do a very quick fire on some myths that we were supposed to debunk. Now, taking antidepressants means you are weak. Quick responses.
It does not mean you're weak. Depression is a disease like any other. You would not feel weak for needing, for example, an antihypertensive if your blood pressure is high. Depression is a mental illness. Mental illness is treatable, and so you can't just snap out of it.
Yes.
If you're given medication, take it because they are life-saving.
High-functioning people cannot be depressed. This reminds me of our colleague who committed suicide in the parking lot at Kenyatta National Hospital while she was doing her master's program. So what does it mean people who we see, doing amazing things are okay?
First of all, in a bid to raise awareness, we normally say died by suicide because it's a cause of death like any other. Committed suicide kind of blames the victim of mental illness. But just because you can be smiling, you look so nice today, but it could be that you go home and you cry when you get into bed. Unaweza kuwa unapitia mashida, lakini you're able to mask it well. And maybe it has not yet reached a critical point. So don't assume that someone is okay. If you yourself feel it's taking more energy to do things than usual, go and see someone.
Okay, so Phoebe. Phoebe is on the line. Hello, Phoebe. Karibu Uliza Daktari. Zungumza nasi.
So, naitwa Phoebe. So, I lost my child like 2.5 years ago.
Pole sana.
Alikuwa 19 years. So, nimekuwa nikilia. Pengine machozi natoka nasikia kama ni moto. Yaani nashinda nina shida gani basi. Kuna wakati nasikia niko vizuri, nasikia mambo yako sawa. Na kuna kitu kifanyikia mtu hajiwi, yani sioni kama kuna kitu kikubwa duniani. I just feel like everything is not. Yaani naona mambo yako sawa, mambo yako sawa.
Pole sana Phoebe. Pole kwa uliopitia. Daktari, grief and depression, where does the line come in?
Yeah, pole sana Phoebe. The loss of a child is a very traumatic event. Now, grief, it is normal to be sad when you lose someone, but depression and grief are different. Na kuna kitu inaitwa prolonged grief reaction, where after the funeral has happened, other people are moving on, lakini wewe unajipata you are longing for that person, you can't accept that they are gone, and you keep thinking about them all the time, na inazuia wewe kufanya kazi yako. It's now, that is what we call an abnormal grief reaction. Because grief sasa inafaa kukuja na ipite and then you start coping. But the difference between a depression and grief, with grief, it doesn't change the way you see yourself. It doesn't make you feel hopeless and worthless, like there's no hope for the future. But depression sasa, it changes how you perceive yourself. Unaanza kuona hujifai, huna matumaini, hutaki kuwa hai. So grief is normal. If it goes too long, it needs to be treated. But depression is different in the sense that you internalize and you feel worthless and hopeless on the inside, na huski hivyo ukiwa going through grief.
Thank you so much, Daktari. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. We are glad. Asante sana for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Now, there you have it. Depression is real, but it is treatable. Inabidi tusaidiane, tuzungumze na wenzetu ili tuweze kujua kama kuna kitu ambayo inabadilika, na tukiona kama kuna dalili ambazo zinakaa si za kawaida, we can seek help and there is help. There shouldn't be any stigma because you are not alone. There are people to talk to, there are people who can solve your problem, na tuko hapa. Now, today we had just started to touch. This is the tip of the iceberg because mental health is a big thing. Na tunakumbusha kwamba mental health ni ugonjwa tu kama vile malaria, kama vile ugonjwa sukari, any other illness, it is the same. So do not feel ashamed. If you are not well, please seek help. Thank you so much for joining us on ULIZA Daktari. Please continue sending in your questions on ULIZA Daktari on our SMS line 22422 and at Daktari_Mengesa. And we will be back next Sunday at 8 p.m. To close for us, a few comments from Walter. Thank you.
And depression is you're cornered like a rat by a cat. That is the thing. But when you realize that the cat is imaginary and you're not a rat, you get out.
ULIZA Daktari, brought to you